like I'm pretty fired up for this new Green Day album, to be honest with you. Everything we've
Bro.
heard off of it has been really like going through, because I went through their entire catalog for this. The stuff that I knew I wasn't really going to use, I kind of just went through to make sure I still had the flavor of it and stuff. But
Okay.
like the last couple of albums didn't like. There's good songs on those albums, but they weren't 3 for 3 with like the previews the way they are now. Like unless this is the best
Bro.
stuff they've got off it, this is going to be one of the better albums. Like maybe it's not as good as anything they did in the 90s, but it's going to be better than anything they did in like the 2010s. And I feel pretty confident in saying that.
Okay, so that's what I wanted to talk about before we really got into this list. Is this new material, man? So the way I wrote it down was, how good can this really get? With The American Dream Is Killing Me, I was immediately interested, and I thought that was a top-tiered song. Then they dropped Look Ma, No Brains, and I thought, oh crap, this one's a little bit better than that one. Then they dropped Dilemma. Now, I'm not going to say Dilemma's a better song than Look Ma, No Brains, but it's a different song. So we've got some variety here. The Dilemma has a lot of like Weezer influence and a little bit of this and that. Look Ma, No Brains, I think. Which one has the Beatles sounding part in it? Is that
The first one? Yeah, that's got that breakdown.
So we got like
pretty breakdown in the middle.
Straight punk song. Got some Beatles influence. We got some Weezer influence. So some like 90s rock and roll grungy stuff like happening. The lyrical content is important and timeless at the same time. It is. I don't know what to say about it, man. Okay. In doing this research, there was points where I was listening to it where I couldn't access my phone. I was driving. And I choose not to fuck with my phone too much if I can avoid it.
Right.
And so I would hear other songs. And if you listen to Green Day on Spotify, there's a few other bands you're going to get listening that they're sure to fall in line, right? One of those bands is The Offspring. So the revelation that I came to this week is that out of all the 90s pop punk stuff, I think The Offspring is the one that I like the most. They have the songs that mean the most to me. But what that tells me is that I didn't listen to as much Green Day. So I had no fatigue going into this. There was no fatigue. I was able to listen to it all kind of with like pseudo fresh ears. And I had a lot of fun, man. Like I don't say the Offspring thing to like disrespect Green Day or their fans or anything. I love doing this. This was great, man. I just think that Offspring was the one that I listened to the most back then. I was a big Epitaph fan. So their first album that was big was an Epitaph album. I like his vocals a little bit better back then. I think the lyrical content is very different. So it's kind of like now I can just kind of take either one, you know? But the Offspring songs are different, man. And like, shout out to Adam Benenson. He's the homie on the channel, bro. He'll know what's up. His favorite band's The Offspring. He's like a death metal guy, which I find hilarious. But yeah, man. So how do you feel about these new songs? Are they all like, because dude, I don't think any of them's below a 9.
So the one that hasn't like hit me as much yet is Dilemma, but I said the same thing about Look Ma, I Got No Brains. At first, American Dream Is Killing Me. That was like instantaneous. Like I just felt like, okay, cool. We have a new Green Day theme for what we're doing. And then when I heard Look Ma, I kind of thought it was a little generic at first, and then it kind of kept going and going, and I kept hearing it more. And then I even saw it like on a Taco Bell commercial, and I was like, holy shit, that song, that's a Green Day song, and it's one of their Green Day like hit rock songs, but it's based in punk a lot more than what they've been doing for the last couple of records. So I'm really high on those two. Dilemma is fine. To me, if Dilemma is an album track, then cool, we're in for a really good thing. And I like the thematic nature of it. Like if you're going to go with a theme, it better be a good theme. And this is a pretty darn good theme, better than some of the themes they've gone with on their more recent albums.
I agree with that. As far as Dilemma is concerned, I think I have a little bit more interest in the song than you do. If you watch my reaction videos, I think that's the one that I had the most reaction to, where I reacted like, I was like, whoa, I really like the change of pace. I really like the curveball. It was just like, it just has this like pulsing, like, instead of being like, it's got this like, I don't know how to describe it other than doing it like that. So my apologies. Yeah. But it's got this sound to it that I wasn't expecting from Green Day. And his vocals, I didn't expect to yell. And I like that, man. I like that he was able to go and do something different. I'm realizing that Billy Joe Armstrong is an incredible musician. Songwriter. Like, I was always good. I never thought he was bad or anything. Dude, this guy's incredible, man. I don't know who's writing everything about their songs. I don't know who's writing all of it. But he's the guitar player and a singer. So he's got a lot to do with it, I would think.
But him and Mike have always been like the main co-songwriters since they were teenagers in their basement. Like that's always been the case.
That's true.
They brought
And I
in
don't
other
mean to
guys,
like,
but that's why like Kerplunk has like stuff that's Beatles poppy on it, and so does
yeah.
The American Dream is Killing Me. Like that is sort of their sensibilities, and always
Well,
has been.
that leads me to a specific song. Give me a second and I'll bring it up. So, and I don't mean to like talk crap on Mike Dirnt. I just don't know much about him, to be
Mhm.
honest. Okay. Looking at it from just a listener's standpoint, it's like, man, Billy's the guitar player. He's the vocalist. I assume he's the lyricist. Like, dadgum, this dude's talented. Like, not that I never gave him the credit, or not that I never thought so. I just never gave him the credit. And I just feel like I should give Green Day as a trio, as a group of the band, more credit for their songwriting abilities, because they do have a lot of stuff. So let me find this song. Give me 1 second to find this song real quick, because I meant to write it down and I forgot to. So my apologies. But it's a song off Dookie that I really, when you said the Kerplunk thing, I was like, I wanted to bring this up. This was something that I thought was crazy. If you go back to Dookie, let's see, what song is it? It's like on the second half of the record, Pulling Teeth.
Right.
They've been doing the Beatles thing since the 90s, bro. Like, and I didn't go back to Kerplunk to pull that out, but I definitely understand what you're saying, and I agree with it. Because if you go back to Pulling Teeth with Dookie, dude, tell me that's not a Beatles song, bro. Like, tell me it's not like Beatles-esque. Like, when I went back to do this, I was shocked. I didn't remember them ever doing that. And I was like, it was like, until later in their career. But apparently they've been the same exact band. Anybody wants to tell me they're sellouts, dude, kiss my ass, bro. I don't want to hear it. They're the same band as they were in the 90s, man.
So for context, as the legend goes, they met in middle school, Mike and Billy Joel, and they went to like each other's bedroom, and each had a
Billy
guitar.
Joel?
No, not Billy Joel, not the Piano Man.
I was
not
like, what?
No, that's a hell of a story if the Piano Man was doing it.
Oh,
no,
dude, that's awesome.
No, the two
Okay,
Green
Billy
Day
Joel.
dudes, they
gotcha.
go like that first day, and they play like Beatles and Black. Like their common interest was classic rock. Punk was just what they were into, sort of what their social group was into. So not to say they weren't into punk, they absolutely were. That's what they were into. But their bond specifically between Mike and Billy was more classic rock, because when you're in middle school, what do? I mean, you'll write some songs, but you're gonna play some Black Sabbath. You're gonna play a little Eagles. You're gonna play a little Beatles.
That's
you're gonna
when
play basically on your dad's radio is what you're playing, and that's what they did. And going back to the beginning, the Gilman Street, the thing about them is they were also not allowed in Gilman Street before they sold out, because they had all that poppy influence in them. It took them a while just to get to Gilman. It wasn't just like they were, even though they're the biggest representative of the Gilman sound, like it's like them, Op Ivy, and like Rancid's technically not a Gilman band, but they are roots in Gilman. It's really Green Day and Op Ivy are the two biggest bands that were actually in Gilman. Green Day's there for a very, very short time. Green Day is more like the kids that were at Gilman watching Operation Ivy that barely got to do with it and then took off.
I've always agreed with that. I've always thought that was the case. When I think Gilman, I think Op Ivy and then other bands like Filth. Like, I don't think Green Day. Speaking of Gilman,
Green Day's a part of it. They're just not. They're like, it's not like everything is framed, because you have to sell everything about Gilman as like the story of Green Day and this and that, because like you're going to sell the most by putting Green Day on the cover of those things. But really,
that's what my issue with it is that
they're always a co-character. It's Larry Livermore who helped create Green Day. There's a top person. The and the Op Ivy stuff, and then you said like Filth and Blatz and all that stuff that really is the Gilman.
Blatz is the other one I was thinking of.
Sort of like scene, and Eggplant and all those guys and the art scene around there. Green Day's kind of a small part of it. They just gained the biggest riches of anyone that ever like can lay claim to that. So they're sort of they do get to kind of hold the history from, like, especially from a monetary perspective. Like that East Bay dock is a great East Bay dock that keeps all those bands alive. That wouldn't exist if Green Day hadn't passed through Gilman on their way up, And
I don't mean to, again, I don't mean to be like taking credit from anybody, especially not Green Day. I just think that whenever I think Gilman, I don't think Green Day. But history does, and it's I always found that kind of weird. But
and neither really wrong either. It's just the perspective and what you put weight to. If you think
I mean, like you said, they're the most monetary proficient band out of the group. I guess that's the wrong word. You know what I mean? They made the most money. Okay, they're most famous.
And in all of punk too. So it's not just that group, it's in all of punk. So it's extremely outsized. Yeah.
Yeah, but they just happen to be like a smaller part of that actual group of people, but they were still a part. They were official, bro, like straight up.
Yeah, they're not. I'm not trying to say they were tourists or only played there once or anything. I'm just saying that they are not necessarily, and that's not a criticism of them and their, because like if they don't hit it big, that scene probably dies like a little sooner than it actually did too, because
for sure
they kept him alive. Because like, you know, Op Ivy's added, all that stuff goes to Epitaph. You know what I mean? You talked about that Offspring Green Day contrast. Well, there's actually kind of the contrast is a Gilman band versus a Southern California Epitaph band. That's really kind of the difference between those two bands. Because other than that, they are very similar in a lot of other ways, but that is sort of the core difference between those two.